Imagine driving down an isolated road with no cell phone coverage and no other vehicles in sight. Everything is normal and going great, until out of nowhere the worst-case scenario happens and your vehicle breaks down. Will you be stranded, or are you prepared for the unexpected?
All right, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about items to keep in your vehicle so you're never stranded. These are all the items I keep under my back seat to make sure I never get stranded out on the road. So I know it looks like a bunch of stuff. However, as somebody that's been stranded on the side of the road, I'm always a little bit over-prepared to make sure I never have to sit out there for hours on end again. One thing I will say, if you see somebody stranded on the side of the road, stop and check on them. Show some decency and check on them to make sure they're okay. I can tell two stories that I've personally been through involving wrecks where nobody stopped. One was out in a national forest. It was right next to some train tracks, and luckily the guys that come through and do maintenance on the train tracks stopped after I'd been out there for about an hour in this national forest with no service, and they helped me out. It was like 25 degrees outside. My tire had come off the rim. I wasn't prepared. I was freezing, didn't have gloves, didn't have a toboggan, a heavyweight jacket. It was my own mistake not being prepared. That was my first lesson in this. I watched several cars pass by me on this very isolated road with no cell service. Luckily, the guys that do train maintenance on the track stopped. They had a coffee maker in their truck. They had air compressors with air tools. They had ether to flash my tire back onto the rim. They had everything, got me back on the road in about 10 minutes with a cup of coffee to warm me up. They were lifesavers, but after that, it really changed my mind and items I keep in my truck. The other experience I had is I was on a busy interstate with my family. We're doing about 80 miles an hour down the road when a truck came across all four lanes, bounced off from me a couple times. They went about 10 feet down a little hill, taking out some trees on the way. Nobody stopped and checked on this guy. It was rush hour traffic. Luckily, this had happened after the train track incident. So I had a medical kit, some other items, went down and checked on him. He was fine, but it really kind of opened my eyes to the mindset that nobody's going to stop and help you when you really need it. Now, the first part of your vehicle EDC is obviously your vehicle. Now, me, out here on the farm, I need a full-size truck, so that is what I have. Obviously, you've got to tailor that to your budget, where you live, all of these different factors. For me, I'm always going to have a full-size truck. There's a few things I do on every truck I have just to make sure that I am prepared and ready for the worst-case scenario, or in case I get stranded or whatever the situation may be. The first thing I do is I always have some sort of all-terrain tire on my truck, just in case I'm out in the field somewhere on the farm. If I pull off on a soft shoulder after it's been raining and it's muddy, I have some decent tires on there. If you're up in the north where there's a lot of snow, make sure you have some snow-rated tires, whatever the case may be. Have a good set of tires. Check them regularly to make sure they don't need replacing, all of that good stuff. The other vehicle mod I do on every truck I have is these running boards. Now, I will tell a story later on in the video about an accident I was in on an interstate. The guy came across four lanes. He bumped into the side of my truck about 5 times before going off into a ditch. Every time he hit, he was bumping off of my running boards here. So the running boards took all the damage. He did scratch up one of my rims and my side mirror on the driver's side. So I had to get a new mirror, a new rim. They replaced the running board. The rest of the truck was good. So that one taught me no matter what, I will always have running boards on my truck just in case there's a side impact like that. Hopefully they take the brunt of the force and don't just completely total out my vehicle. All right. Now, continuing on with the vehicle, you've seen the mods I've talked about and things I'm always going to do. The next part of that is your preventative maintenance. Now, I am not super mechanically inclined. I know enough to get me in trouble and hopefully get me out of a jam. Make sure you never go below a quarter tank. I've done some cross country trips. I say I-40 in the Southwest is probably the worst of it, where gas stations are every 100 miles for part of it. So never run out of gas. If you ever get stranded, you can run the heater or whatever. So always try to keep at least a quarter tank. Me personally, I don't like to get too much below half a tank, but I always set a bare minimum. You get to a quarter tank, fill up. Make sure you check your oil, check your tires, do some basic checks. Make sure your coolant's always topped off. The big one that you're going to run into all the time is make sure your windshield washer fluid is topped off as well. Do these basic preventive checks, every time you wash your vehicle, once a month, whatever schedule works for you. For me personally, I have it on my calendar on my phone. For once a month, I'll go out and check a bunch of stuff on my vehicle. It's set to give me that notification. If not, I will forget all about it. So the easiest way I've found to do this is just set that notification on your phone calendar, set an alarm for once a month, write it on your fridge calendar, whatever works for you. But have something, do these preventive maintenance checks to make sure your vehicle stays in good shape. So items I keep in my vehicle, I break down to a few main sections. My first here you can see with this bag is my everyday carry. I've always got it with me. It's got the basics for necessities for survival, being prepared, sustaining yourself, however you want to think about it. I call it really just being prepared for the worst case scenario. After I get through my EDC, which I highly recommend if you're new to this lifestyle, it's a good starting point. Start with a little bag with things you'll always carry. Some of that's also in my pockets. We'll get into that. The next thing I have is maintenance items. If my vehicle breaks down, that's going to be things like jumper cables, a jump box. I've got some tow straps, tire inflators, different items if I get stuck or stranded on the side of the road with a vehicle issue. That kind of covers several bags here. And the last part that I cover is first aid. Now, I believe in a two-line approach to this. You're going to have like your boo-boo kit, which you're going to use more often than you think. When everybody hears first aid, they immediately think trauma. They're thinking tourniquets, pressure dressings, the whole works. That's great to have, and I recommend having it. I carry it in my truck every day. But you also got to have your boo-boo kit. Those are your aspirin, your heartburn medicine, your Band-Aids, things that you're going to use a lot more than you ever realize. Another section I'm going to break this video down to is communications. Now, that can be as basic as your cell phone with a cell phone charger, all the way up to ham radio, GMRS radio. It really depends on how far you want to get into that, but have a way to communicate if you ever do get stranded. All right, so the first part we're going to talk is my everyday carry bag. It's really the building blocks that everything else is built upon. I'm going to use the screwdriver as my pointing device. I don't have a fancy laser pointer or anything like that, so go ahead and laugh, make fun in the comments, but it'll work great for this. So this bag is a 25-liter bag. It's from North Face. You can use whatever you have, whatever you like. For me, this is perfect. It's got two little side pockets that I can put water bottles or odd-shaped items, as well as it's got these nice drawstrings you'll see, so I can attach rain jackets, other items like that. So the first thing you will see is this nice rain jacket. I always leave it strapped to the front of my bag in case I'm ever outside doing something, got to stop for groceries on the way home, whatever the case may be. If it starts raining, I do have some protection. If I ever break down the side of the road, I have a rain jacket in case it's a rainstorm. The other personal clothing item you will see is a beanie. I am bald, so I keep a shaved head. Whenever it gets cold, my head freezes, so I always leave this in my bag just in case we have a temperature drop. When it gets below 50, the beanie comes on every time. So I always keep that with me. The last personal item you'll see is the sunglass case. Now, these are Costa Del Mars. You can use whichever glasses you prefer. I also keep a pair of safety glasses that are ANSI rated, just in case I need some better eye protection. But this is great for keeping the glare of the sun away and looking stylish while you're out driving around. All right, so the first thing in this side pocket, you will see this nice little umbrella. It's super compact. It is a Vortex V2. I got it at REI. Obviously, the brand doesn't really matter. I like it because it's super small. It fits in the side pocket of my bag, so I always have that with me just in case I'm in a rainstorm. The next item you'll see in my side pocket is I keep a water bottle at all times filled. This is a hydro flask. I love it. I was never a huge water drinker. It always tasted terrible to me. I know it's bland and has no taste. That's why I hated it. Getting into the contents of my bag, first it has this little front pocket area. You can see I'll bring some items out. This is part of my med kit I always keep with me. You'll notice there's 2 packs. One is more of a trauma serious injury pack. The other part is going to be my boo-boo kit with Band-Aids, other stuff. I keep some extra stuff that just doesn't fit in the packs there, as well as this nice little Coleman personal survival kit. Now, we've all had it happen to us. Your car battery goes dead. So I recommend having at bare minimum jumper cables in your vehicle. However, if you're like me, I'm usually the last one at work. So there's nobody there to give me a jump if my battery dies. So recently I got one of these jump boxes. I highly recommend them. They are awesome. They're smaller than the jumper cables. Moving from your dead battery, the next piece of vehicle maintenance gear I keep is a tire inflator. It's going to be one of the most common issues you have along with a dead battery. Probably happens even more than a dead battery. This is a little cobalt one I got given to me for Christmas a couple years ago. There's a million brands out there. Just have a way to patch your tire with a tire repair kit. It's in the doorway of my truck. I didn't pull it out for the video, but have a way to patch the tire and also have a way to inflate it. Now, speaking of a way to patch your damaged tire and inflate it, you've also got to have a way to get to the spare. Now, you will see 3 different tools here. The jack is still in the truck. I didn't pull it out. Depending how long I'm going to be driving, whether it's, my everyday route or if I'm going on a long road trip, depends which tool I have. The first thing, I always keep the 4-way that came with the truck under the back seat. Next, I keep a big long breaker bar. All the tire shops, they use an impact wrench. Sometimes they give it a couple too many ugga-duggas when they install it. So I have a way that I can apply some extra leverage to get a lug nut loose. So I always keep the 4-way as well as this breaker bar in the truck at all times. If I'm going on a long road trip or I'm doing a bunch of stuff off of the pavement, off-roading wise, I will throw in a little impact gun with the necessary sockets. Now, keeping with the theme of being broken down on the side of the road, having vehicle issues, the next thing I keep is some self-recovery gear. I will give some stories of where I've needed this and why I keep it. First thing I keep is a static toe strap. I got this off of Amazon. It's from Rhino USA. It was relatively cheap. The other part of this kit I keep is some soft shackles so I can hook up to the front or back bumper of my truck or to another vehicle to get unstuck or help them get unstuck as well. So have a way to hook up to your vehicle and then also have a toe strap, whether it's a kinetic rope, a static toe strap, whichever you're more comfortable with, but have a way to self-recover. We also get ice storms real bad down here. I always see people that have slid off the side of the road. I stop and try to help them when I can. Part of that being a decent person that I always try to do. That karma comes back to you at some point. So it's not just for if you get stuck. So if you see somebody stranded as well, you can kind of help them out of the jam. Continuing on with being stranded on the side of the road, having vehicle issues, I keep a general toolkit in my truck as well. You can get these little tool bags for pretty cheap. I think it was under 15 bucks. My awesome pointer that I've been using is part of the kit. The first thing you will notice, minus the screwdriver, now this is a multi-bit screwdriver, so in the handle I can store a bunch of bits for different things. I use this probably once a week. There's always something I need a screwdriver for, so it's nice to always have one in the vehicle. Moving on from the screwdriver, you will see a pair of work gloves. I always keep these with me if I've got to change a tire, do some work around the farm, whatever the case may be. It's nice to have a pair of work gloves right there in the truck with me at all times. Moving on from that, the next item I will pull out is just a pair of pliers. They serve a lot of purposes. I'm not going to cover that. Along with the screwdriver, it's probably one of my most used tools that I keep in the truck. So, at a bare minimum, I recommend a multi-bit screwdriver, a pair of pliers of some sort, just so you have some choices. I try to keep some sockets or some wrenches around as well, but at bare minimum, this is a great starting point, along with a little multi-tool. Now, I have things that do better than the multi-tool, but if I ever need to kind of get away from my truck or I'm doing something, I'll go and throw this in my pocket just in case. So, have some ways to do some basic mechanical stuff, whether it's you need a screwdriver or pliers, whatever the case may be, have some choices there. Moving on from that, the next items you will see, I'm going to spin the bag around here a little bit, is you will see I keep a couple of chem lights and I keep a road flare in my bag as well. This is in case I get stranded, stuck on the side of the road at nighttime. I want to be as visible as possible. A lot of the back roads do not have a wide shoulder, so you're kind of straddling the edge of the road. I want to be as bright as possible. It's 2025. It seems like 3/4 of the people on the road are looking down, texting instead of paying attention. So I want to be lit up and as bright as possible to make sure nobody runs into me if I'm ever stranded at nighttime. You'll see this ice scraper. It does great to get some ice and a little bit of snow off of my windshield when I need it. Y'all have already seen the multi-tool I keep. The next thing I keep is a little siphon. Now this one is nice. It's got a little bulb you can squeeze to start getting it there. Most of the newer design gas cans, and especially the ones I prefer, the fill rights, have a super short nozzle for pouring into the tank. So I like to have a way to kind of transfer just in case I was ever an idiot and forgot to stop at the gas station and ever accidentally run out. It's nice to have a little siphon around for an emergency use. Now, opening up this little tool bag. Now, I have a truck. I haul around a trailer a bunch. You will see I keep a bag full of ratchet straps, different lengths, different weight capacities, all of that. All right, so you've already seen my everyday carry first aid kit. This bag here, it lives under my back seat. It's my second line. If there's ever an accident while I'm out on the road in my truck or something, I have this just in case. It's just a plus up of everything in my everyday carry. It's scaled up to handle some bigger stuff. I also keep a small boo-boo kit in here as well, just in case I ever forget my bag. I've got a boo-boo kit with the basic necessities in here as well. So I'll go ahead and open this up so you can see. This was a cheap little bag. It came from Rescue Essentials. They had it on sale. I keep a lot of different little stuff in here, and we will kind of go through that. So, first thing you'll see as soon as you open it is another bag with a bunch of Band-Aids. They're going to be your most used item. If you're first starting out on this, have a boo-boo kit to cover the basic necessities of the realistic stuff you're going to run into on a day-to-day basis. So Band-Aids, you will see I have a pack of that. I have stuff for CPR. I've got probably 6 pairs of gloves in here. As you can see, again, 2 is 1, 1 is none. I like to have a bunch of these just in case. I keep some antiseptic wipes, but I've got my Band-Aids right here handy. Moving on into the boo-boo kit side of this, you will see things like heartburn medicine. I'm bald, pale-skinned. I have sunscreen at all times. The basic necessities, I'm always going to go to my EDC bag first, but in case I ever forget it, I have some backups here as well. So moving into the trauma and really the first aid side of this, you will see an emergency survival blanket. You will see a biohazard bag. And again, I've got 2 pairs of shears in here. You can never have enough shears for cutting clothing, whatever the case may be. So that covers this front part of this compartment. You've already seen most of the boo-boo from the side. I also do, again, keep burn dressings in here. I keep 2 of them of different types. They're just what I found. They've gone in different orders. Burns are pretty common. Seems like you're always burning your hand on something. So keep some burn dressings around. Now, moving into the meat and potatoes of this, the thing that everybody wants to see. Everybody wants to see the trauma stuff. Again, before you go out and buy all this stuff, get some training. Take a Stop the Bleed class. Find a local course. A lot of the fire departments offer it. There's some other courses out there. Do not be out here trying to use this stuff without the proper training. Make sure you get training on it so you know how to use it, and make sure the others that you are around, your wife, your husband, your whoever, your kids, your grandparents, your brother, sister, they all kind of get some basic training on this so they know how to use it in case something ever happens to you. So you will see, again, I keep a couple of these control wraps in here. They're great as like a triangle bandage, a splint, whatever the case may be. I keep a couple of these in here, as well as you'll see some more of these SAM finger splints. I also have some larger SAM splints in here to use. Between that and the control wrap, I can make a pretty good splint and secure it. Moving on from that, you will see some waterproof tri-cut tape if I ever need it. I've got a nice little roll of it. You will see some stretch gauze bandages right here. Moving on from that, you will see some more of these small little NAR responder compressed package gauze. They're great. They're small. They're super cheap. You never have enough of them just in case. Again, I've got a thing of quick clot dressing just in case, as well as another sterile gauze pad that's kind of large just in case there's a larger thing that I need to cover. Moving on from that, you will see I have 3 of these pressure dressings. Now, I keep 2 different kinds. I like both of them. Y'all have already seen that I like the NAR mini responder pressure dressings. This is the NAR emergency trauma dressing. It is a 6-inch, so it is larger, super simple to use. There's actually a drawing on the back that tells you how to use it in case you haven't practiced with it. It's been a couple of years. It'll give you a quick little picture of how to use it. Again, get training, train yourself every so often so you don't forget. I'm a huge fan of these NAR emergency trauma dressings over like Israeli bandages. The other ones I really like, and they kind of do a lot more in one, is these Olas modular bandages. So they're another pressure dressing. They have gauze built into it so you can pack the wound. They have a suction cup as well. They hook on, so it does a few more things. So if you're really looking for small and compact, I highly recommend this. Again, the same as the NAR, you have a little picture diagram on the back. This one actually has some words to go along with it so you can remember how to use it in case. So I will keep 2 of these. These are both the same. One is flat, one is a rolled version, whichever fits your bag better, and then a NAR dressing. So I keep 3 pressure dressings. I have some tourniquets down in here I'm not going to pull out. I prefer the cat tourniquets. They're what I'm familiar with. So I keep a couple of them, but I also keep a bunch of pressure dressings, some gauze pads, all sorts of different stuff. And then again, start with your boo-boo kit. It's the things you're going to use the most. Now, the last little bit of this I will cover is communications. Now, again, I'm a big believer in having multiple ways of doing something, but start with the basics. Almost everybody has one of these now, a cell phone. Have a way to charge it in your vehicle. The other thing I will tell you is have a backup battery bank. So you'll see this one here. Now, this is from Mophie. I really like it. It's got a little magnetic ring. I keep a magnetic ring on the back of my phone case so I can do things like this. If it's in my pocket, it will not fall off. It'll always be charging. I keep a couple USB cables. These are USB-C to Cs. I have a 110 plug in my truck, so I put in a little brick and have these to charge this as well as my portable battery bank. So have a couple ways to charge and have some power in case your battery dies. You do have a way to charge your phone while you're stranded. So keep a battery bank, keep some charging cables, all of that. Now, for me, I'm a ham radio enthusiast, so I take it a step further. I have a ham radio installed into my truck. I'm usually tuning around listening and hitting the local repeaters or the simplex channels. So I do have a way in case I'm in an area where I have no cell phone signal. So have those things. Other little miscellaneous items I keep in my truck just in case. I always keep a flashlight of some sort. I try to check it once a month just to make sure it's charged up. The batteries are good, they haven't died. This is an old Surefire light that takes the CR123 batteries. I've really become a fan of the 18650 batteries that are rechargeable. There's a bunch of flashlights that even charge with the same hookup as your phone with a USB-C. So have a flashlight in case you get stranded in the dark. And if you're out there trying to change a tire and you're on a back road and there's no street lamps and it's nighttime, a headlamp is super handy. That way you don't have to hold the flashlight. You can throw this on, do what you're trying to do, and still have light without losing one of your hands to hold the light. So there's a million different brands. You have all sorts of models you can choose for this stuff. The key takeaways I will say is have a way to have communication, have a way to charge your battery, have a way to change a tire, have a way to do some basic medical, um, and also have a way to do some basic mechanical stuff with some tools, have some lights, keep some personal protective equipment, whether that's work gloves, a toboggan, a rain jacket, a jacket if it's cold. You will see I keep a blanket in my truck in the winter months, or if I'm going on a long trip, I will throw this in. It's not in there every day, but on longer trips or cold weather, I'll throw a blanket and usually an extra jacket into my truck. The last thing you will see is we're kind of on that streams that gets cold in the winter, or at least cold to me. It gets 100 degrees in the summer, so I always keep a cooler locked into the bed of my truck that has water, Gatorades, some Coke, whatever the case may be, just so I do have another way to have some extra water or some drinks if I'm out working around the farm, whatever the case may be. So brands do not matter. Have a plan, have training, be prepared.